Oh, we better remove this one first, right? The stream RNG thing. G'day guys, ZiggyD here, and I've pinched Rory Rackham so we can have a sit-down mechanics chat. How you going, Rory?
Doing good. How are you?
Oh, I'm good, thank you. We're going to talk about melee mechanics and how they've changed the targeting. I've been testing it out a little bit. The targeting feels a lot nicer now. What exactly have you done to it?
So now when you perform a shift attack or attack without any target under your cursor, it will both check in a line in front of you, as it used to do, but it'll also check to the sides of that line. So you have a much larger area where it will automatically find good targets, and you'll have much more flexibility to attack in a direction, and you'll more reliably get something when you do that, rather than having to wave around or specifically namelock every enemy you go after. It is the first step in the right direction. We hope to make plenty more changes to make melee easier to play and also just more rewarding in terms of the number of enemies you can strike while still having it feel like close combat.
Okay, so I've been testing it a bit. I got some video footage for you guys of me testing on Kuduku, showing kind of like where you can stand and where you can target and where it picks it up. How exactly does this look? So let's say this is Kuduku here, right?
Yep.
He's got some angry eyes, and the player is here, right?
Mm-hmm.
How exactly does this targeting area look like? Where can you pick him up?
So if you say shift attack and in this sort of direction, this is your weapon range here, and he's obviously not in this line. It's sort of reasonably like that's what it used to look like. Usually, if you'd shift attack previously, you'd swing and you'd miss. But now it also checks in a sort of rectangle like this after it's checked that. So if he is to the side just there, in which case he's clipping that there, then you will get a hit off on him, although your character will still be facing forward.
So it actually checks in a line first for what you're most likely aiming towards.
And then goes sideways from that, basically. So if there is a guy right here, it will go for him first, but because this guy is like over here, it'll then go for him second. So it gets as close to where the direction you're targeting as possible, prioritizing the direction rather than the distance.
Yeah, so you're still more likely to pick up what you're aiming for. But you're at least going to get something if you don't click on it.
Yes. And for skills like lightning strike, which fire a projectile, it'll still fire them directly forward, so you don't need to worry about it going off to the side if enemies aren't in the direction you want it to swing at.
What I've noticed about this running around is that you usually run with your mouse cursor like halfway out along the screen or something like that, and now I just tap shift and my character will force stand still and attack, and as long as I'm aiming in the right direction, I'm able to pick targets. It's more about judging where your character is in relation to and learning that weapon range, which is now more generous as well.
That is correct, yeah. We basically had a look at the character animations, and a lot of them were going beyond where they were actually able to hit. So now it's much more, the animations are much more accurate. So if you see a character stabbing with their claws actually have quite a large range now compared to what they used to have, because most of the animations are actually going quite a long way with their punches.
The claws were really long, and I was like, you'd think that'd be a short weapon, but you looked at the animation effects of it.
Yeah, they're based mostly on the classes that are most likely to be using those weapons. So the Shadow actually gets quite a bit of reach with his punch if you watch him do it.
So different animations.
Yeah. So the Shadow has quite an advantage. I mean, animation-wise. So we just updated claws to match.
Shadow's OP, man. Animation's making a difference.
While the daggers are a bit more up here, so they've got the much shorter animation.
Yeah, right.
Shorter melee range.
Rapiers are getting the longest.
Oh yes, yeah, they're very, very stabby. So, yeah.
I was testing with like the two-handed longswords and that, and I was noticing that even with like a little bit of weapon range scaling, it did seem a lot more accurate. Like I was able to kind of hit enemies with like the tip of the sword. It looked good. Like so it matches it much better now.
Yeah.
That's pretty much changed. So you say this is kind of like the first step in that though. Like this feels pretty good. It feels like more like problems are now more like balanced related between melee and AoE melee and blade flurry and then bows and spells and stuff like that.
So the two sort of directions. Part of it is one-handed weapons fall way behind in damage. The exception kind of being daggers, but only because of crit. So bringing up other less crit-focused one-handed weapons onto, not to the level of two-handed weapon DPS, but ideally a dual-wielding character does almost as much damage as a two-hander. Because they have the advantage of speed and block as well. And one-handers won't feel like one-handers can do half the damage of a two-hander at a similar level if you don't get too lucky with your mods. So it makes shields while leveling feel really unappealing if you can take a hit.
And claws eventually getting some love, I guess.
Yeah. This will. It's too early to say how daggers will be affected, but bringing claws and daggers, so you have a reason to use both as a shadow while leveling, and also just as long-term builds, the sort of in-game builds having advantages to claws beyond crit.
You think there's any more like quality of life stuff that needs to change now? Because I'm having trouble picking now what my problems with melee are apart from balance. Like it seems like targeting is really good now.
The skills, although melee targeting is improved, the skills that require a single target generally haven't been competing with a lot of the AoE skills, partially because they just haven't had the same attention. They've been not as enjoyable to play, so we don't want to tempt people with high damage. So getting both improving the mechanics of the skills, but also giving them more opportunities for players to improve them. Hopefully we'll see some new supports, but we'll also likely see some threshold jewels or similar sort of skill-specific mechanics, so you can do more interesting things with your favorite single target attacking skills.
Yeah, that does kind of touch on the topic of like balance between these single target skills and the AoE skills, which often end up having better single target damage, because once you get like an AoE and conk effect it, then you're getting a better single target than actual single targets like double strike and things.
Yeah, so more of a focus on that. This won't be coming out with Breach, but it'll be what we'll be focusing on after that.
Cool. Yeah, I've got a bit of insight into the future then as well.
Yeah.
Oh, good stuff on the melee targeting changes. Pretty sweet. Look forward to checking out. I might play some more Viper Strike action.
Sounds good.
I just came off of months of Viper Strike, but after testing it now, it feels even better. So
that's good.
I'm becoming addicted to it. It's a problem. It's a problem, Rory. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Good. Thank you.